No Mercy takes place this Saturday in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at FTL War Memorial, which is an auditorium. So this is another NXT PLE that will take place in an auditorium and not in an arena, which I think the last time we've had a PLE for NXT in an arena was the Stand and Deliver show in Las Vegas. So, I mean, last year at this time, they would run arenas. Nowadays, they just only run auditoriums. I'm not sure why, but maybe it's a lack of confidence in the amount of interest in the product. That's the only real conclusion I can come to at that moment because, NXT just doesn't seem to be as popular as it once was. It's not just the black and gold era. I almost think a year ago or even 2 years ago, there was more hype around NXT than there is now for some reason. I suppose the women's division has been hurt a lot. They've had a lot of call-ups. So there's been things going on in that regard. But it just doesn't feel like NXT has the same momentum as it once did. Even though the show last week, the homecoming show, was awesome. I love that. And Back at Full Sail. And I thought the show was okay last night on Tuesday. But we have this No Mercy show. Fort Lauderdale is Miami. It's around Miami. It's similar to how Winter Park, where the Full Sail University is, that's basically around Orlando. That's what Fort Lauderdale is to Miami. And the venue, as I said, an auditorium. So let me get this out of the way. I think this might be the most unpredictable NXT PLE I've ever seen. I can't say main roster because I'm sure there's been a main roster PLE that's been very unpredictable, at least one. Certainly not in the last few years. But for an NXT PLE, this is easily the most unpredictable one I've ever seen. That includes all of them back over 11 years now. From that first Arrival show to the takeovers to them dropping takeovers and just becoming NXT shows in the 2.0 era up until now in what's called the CW era or the white and gold era, whatever you want to call it. I've seen practically all NXT PLEs, and this is easily the toughest one to predict in terms of the card. It has the most unpredictable card I've ever seen for an NXT show. Has to be one of the most unpredictable cards for a WWE show in general. Now, the betting odds all reflect that. Basically, all of them, like almost all the matches, are dead even. So it's a toss-up at that point. It's a coin flip for who do you think is going to win, except maybe one or two matches. I think other four are all like under 100 for both of them. So like this show, a lot can happen here. It can go either way. A very unpredictable show. Now, I don't think the card is spectacular, but I do think it has a lot of excitement because, it's an unpredictable show and a lot could happen. So let's start off with the match that I think probably starts the show off. You have Josh Briggs taking on Javon Evans. They had a match at a previous PLE at the Heatwave show, and Josh Briggs won. I think Javon Evans wins this. I don't think there's much to this storyline. It's kind of boring. I think it ends here. Javon Evans gets the win. He defeats Josh Briggs, and that's it. Next, we go to a Weaponized Steel Cage match. Jordynne Grace takes on Blake Monroe. I think this is the hardest of the matches to predict. At least one of them, because it really could go either way. I have no idea. I just thought, I made my predictions when I just thought who would make more sense in the long term to go with, and that's who I picked. But looking at it, there's a big case for Jordynne Grace to win. Mainly because she just lost to Blake Monroe at the last PLE. She needs another win. If she loses again, there's nothing to do with her in NXT. And from what I'm seeing on the main roster, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a spot opened right now on the main roster. Mainly because they're going to head into War Games after the show. And, it might not be the best time to debut her. Maybe she debuts at the Rumble. So when I see Jordynne Grace, I think, maybe this isn't, like, if she's not going to the main roster right away, she needs a win right now. For Blake Monroe, they don't want to beat her again. She's lost already to Kalani Jordan. They have a lot invested in her. She will be the NXT Women's Champion eventually. And I don't know if they want to beat her on a PLE this fast. It's a very difficult match to predict. I'm sure we'll get a whole bunch of weapons. We'll get trash cans, trash can lids, kendo sticks, steel chairs, tables probably. It'll be a weaponized cage match. I don't know if we'll get blood. Blake's bled before as Mariah May, but I do think we'll have an entertaining cage match. Probably one of the best women's cage matches we'll ever see. As to who wins, ultimately it's very difficult to predict. I want Blake Monroe. I think she makes more sense. I just think they have so much invested in her. I don't know if it's a good idea to beat her on a PLE this soon, and this is going to be one of the more anticipated matches on the show. So I think ultimately Blake wins, but it would not surprise me in a bit. I would not be shocked by one iota to see Jordynne Grace win, but I am officially picking Blake Monroe. Next, we go to this is the first title matches. Those are the two matches I went over first were the only two non-title matches, but we've got the WWE Women's Speed Championship on the line. So Ruca defends her title against Lainey Reid. So this is going to be under 3 minutes. Lainey Reid, I don't think, can go for a long match on a PLE. I think it might turn out to how the Izzy Day match at Sol Ruca turned out, where it just wasn't very good at all. So I think it's good that this is going to be a short, condensed match. Who wins? It's a little bit difficult to predict. The betting odds reflect that. I can see them just going at Lainey Reid because they want to push her, and this isn't necessarily a major title. It's the third top female championship in NXT. So, putting the belt on her really doesn't mean much, but they could keep it on Sol. I think it makes more sense for Lainey Reid to win. That's why I'm picking her, and I think Zaria will call Sol Ruca the match. Understood this is going to be a 3-minute match. I think it wouldn't surprise me to see Zaria just turn on Sol Ruca out of nowhere, and then Lainey Reid gets the win, or Zaria just messes up. Lainey gets the win, and maybe Zaria turns on Sol after the match. But I'm picking Lainey Reid to win the WWE Women's Speed Championship, and Sol Ruca will still remain the NXT Women's North American Champion. And I think after that, that's when she feuds with Zaria for the belt. But I think Lainey Reid is your new Women's Speed Champion on the show. Next, we go to the NXT North American Championship. Ethan Page defends against Tavion Heights. So what happened on Tuesday? Tavion Heights dresses up as some AAA luchador. He tricks Ethan Page into having an impromptu match, and he immediately submits him to an ankle lock. I think because of that, it would not make sense at all to defeat Ethan Page again on a PLE after he was just bitched out on Tuesday. I don't think it's a good idea to beat him 5 days later on a PLE. I think Tavion Heights could win. It wouldn't shock me to see him win. I just think from what I've seen in the storyline and how much they're invested in Ethan Page with the evil Canadian foreign menace gimmick in the North American Championship, I don't think they want to beat him right away. I don't know if Tavion Heights is that over yet, so I think Ethan Page will retain the NXT North American Championship. Next, we go to another very difficult match to predict. The NXT Women's Championship is on the line, and I have to talk about a story that's related to this match, but we have our champion, Jacy Jayne, who will be accompanied by her fellow Fatal Influence member, Fallon Henley, to take on Lola Vice, who is a Miami native, and it will be a very pro-Lola Vice crowd, as it already would have been as she's the babyface, but so, Fatal Influence, you have Jacy Jayne, Fallon Henley, and now formerly Jasmine Nix, who is no longer with the WWE. She decided to not resign a contract. They offered her a new contract. She decided not to take it. It was supposedly due to money. So, Jasmine Nix is no more. Not a surprise at all if you watched NXT on Tuesday. It was pretty obvious she was a goner. The way they just took her out and they just dumped her like she was nothing. So, I really didn't see too much in her. She's someone, she's attractive, very attractive, but, what does she really have? Not very good in the ring, didn't have much charisma, just part of an entrance. And she had a lot of injuries as well. I didn't really see much in Jasmine, and, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't offer her too much because they really didn't have much plans to keep her around in the long term in terms of being a top player in NXT, and I don't think they thought she could make it on the main roster. So I think that's why she's gone, and it is what it is. We'll see what she does next, but it wouldn't surprise me if she's just not part of wrestling anymore. Now, as for this match, Jacy Jayne was embarrassed by Lola Vice on Tuesday. Lola lays her out with a spinning back fist and poses with the title over a fallen Jacy Jayne. Now, if Vince McMahon is booking that show, I can tell you with 100% certainty that Jacy Jayne is going to win on the PLE after she was embarrassed by Lola Vice on NXT. But Vince McMahon is not booking the show. Shawn Michaels is. That was a giveaway. That being said, this is tough. This is the hardest. I said the women's Weaponized Cage match, the Blake Monroe Jordynne Grace match, was the hardest. Maybe this is the hardest. This can go either way. It's really a coin flip. Either one of them could win. I think in terms of the betting odds, this is the closest. I really don't know. I genuinely do not know. Jacy, Jayne absolutely could win. Fallon, Henley is there, then they're going to add a third Fatal Influence member. I don't think it'll be Lainey Reid, because she's on the show, but it could be someone else. They add her. She joins Fatal Influence and helps Jacy win, and Fallon stays with them, and they have a new Fatal Influence, someone replacing Jasmine. That could happen. Here's the thing. Lainey Reid is the one that would make the most sense, and she's not on the show. I'm sorry, she's on the show, but she has her own match. It wouldn't make sense for her to come out, especially because I think she will win the Speed Championship. So I don't think it would make much sense for her to join Fatal Influence. You could add someone else that we're not expecting to join randomly, someone who feels they're being overlooked. That could absolutely happen. I'm going to go with Lola Vice. Jacy absolutely could win. I just think it's Miami. It's Fort Lauderdale. They've hyped her up so much. They've done such a good job. And yeah, WWE in the past would always beat the hometown hero to get heat on the heel. They've done that a million times. They break the city's heart. It wouldn't surprise me to see them break Miami's heart and have Lola Vice lose. I just think they've done such a good job with her, and they've built her up so much. They've put a lot into her, and last year they didn't give her the belt. I just think if this was anywhere else, I think Jacy probably wins, but because it's Miami, I think they're going to go with Lola Vice here. I think we're getting a new NXT Women's Champion, so I'm predicting Lola Vice to defeat Jacy, Jayne and win the NXT Women's Championship, and then maybe a Jacy feuds with Fallon after, and that officially is the end of the stable. I think that's more likely, and it seemed like she was going to feud with Fallon in the summer before they randomly put the belt on her when they had her beat Stephanie Vaquer back in the summer, but here, it's a difficult match to predict. I think Lola Vice is your new champion, and she knocks out Jacy, Jayne with a spinning back fist to become the new NXT Women's Champion in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and she will celebrate as your new champion. I think everyone's going to enjoy her celebration, if you know what I mean. Another match, extremely difficult to predict, the NXT Championship. Femi defends against Ricky Saints. This is tough. I can see it going either way. I can see them keeping the belt on Oba. They've built him up for a while, and I think maybe the guy to dethrone him is not Ricky Saints. It makes more sense for the guy to be Javon Evans. But for Ricky Saints, they lured him, or they didn't lure him away. They signed him. He was a big signee for them, similar to how Blake Monroe was. Maybe not as big as Blake, because he wasn't as big of a star as she was. But once they got Ricky, it was a big deal in NXT. And they have a lot invested in him, and they didn't fast track him to the main roster, and I can see them putting the belt on him, having him beat Femi, becoming the NXT champion, and he would be a good guy to have as champion, and it would probably be better for the brand, even though Oba's probably better in the ring than Ricky. Ricky has more charisma, I feel, than Oba, and is better on the mic, and Oba to me is just a little bit boring. I think Ricky might actually do better as a champion, so I can see them putting the belt on Ricky in that regard. The thing with Oba is he's been champion since January, and it just feels like if they were going to dethrone him, and they've protected him so much. I think he's only really lost a couple of times to Tony D'Angelo when he was an NXT North American champion. They've done such a good job with Femi for all these years. I don't know if this is the best time to beat him, and I feel like if they were going to beat him for the title and really dethrone him, defeat the ruler, I think they would have built it up more, and I think there would be more hype to this. And it wouldn't shock me to see TNA shenanigans in this. Maybe Mike Santana interferes, even though he's mad at Trick. Not Mike Santana, but it wouldn't surprise me to see some TNA interference, and it costs Ricky the match, and Oba wins. But I don't think Oba's going to beat Ricky clean, but I think he's going to win, and I'm predicting Femi to retain the NXT Championship at No Mercy. So that's my predictions. As I said, a very unpredictable card, and we'll see what happens this Saturday. It can go either way. It's exciting. I don't complain too much on wrestling's predictable, but when you have a card that's so unpredictable like this, it makes it more exciting because it really is up in the air and it can go either way, and it's exciting to see. So hopefully we get a good show this Saturday in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. And we'll see what happens as NXT shows no mercy.